Today's tutorial is all about the Turquoise-Browed Motmot, one of my favorite birds because it happens to be the very first super vibrant bird that I saw during our time here in Costa Rica. So by the end of this tutorial, you're going to have your own vibrant Motmot ready for your next nature journal entry. Let's start painting. Motmots are known for their incredibly vibrant colors, but one of their most unique features is their long tail feathers that end in little paddle-shaped tips. They're called racket tails, and they form naturally as the bird preens its own feathers. So you'll often see a motmot gently swinging its tail back and forth like a pendulum while perched on a branch in the jungle. Since we're taking the pressure off of drawing today, we're going to use the outline that I've provided in the caption as a free download. And sometimes when we sit down to paint, the pressure to draw everything perfectly can actually stop us from experimenting and enjoying the watercoloring process. So using an outline allows you to jump right into playing with color, water, and texture, which is really where watercolor becomes so magical. But if you want to challenge yourself, you can absolutely use the outline simply as a reference and try freehand drawing the motmot instead. I'm going to take a bit of time to go ahead and trace this outline for the motmot. If you're drawing and painting alongside me, go ahead and pause the video now and either free draw or trace the outline. This may not be the norm amongst many watercolor artists, but I personally like to start by painting the background first instead of the main subject. I think this habit comes from past experiences where I carefully painted the subject first, only to accidentally model or bleed the background colors into all the detail work that I had just finished. So by painting the background first, I can go right up to the edge of the subject, allow everything to dry, and then when I start painting the bird itself, there's much less water involved, which helps to keep the colors crisp and vibrant. So for today's background, I'm creating a very loose dappled jungle backdrop with light greens, dark greens, and touches of the blue for the sky. So don't take this too literally. This is a great moment to play with your watercolor. Experiment with more or less pigment, more or less water, and allow the colors to touch, spread, and mingle naturally on the paper. So I'm starting with just putting some wet on wet here. Wet the background, that area that I really want to get into first with clean water, and then I dapple it with some colors and pigments in different areas for the illusion of the dappled sunlight coming through the jungle leaves. I want to encourage you to rotate your paper or journal as you work. I'm constantly turning my journal around so I can get a better angle for placing water and color exactly where I want it. Now here's the challenging part about painting the background first, especially when using a lot of water for the background. You really do need to let it dry completely before moving on. You can either give it some time to air dry or use a heat gun or hair dryer to speed up the process. Just don't do it on too high of a blowing speed, or else it'll really kind of ruin how the watercolor moves on the page while it's still wet. It can be very tempting to start painting the bird right away, but try to resist the urge. If the background is still damp, those colors can easily bleed into the bird, and we really want the colors of the beautiful motmot to stay bright and pop against the background. Okay, so once everything is dry, we're going to start the small tree branch that the motmot is perched on. Motmots often sit quietly on branches for long periods of time while they watch for insects, small reptiles, or fruit. They're known as patient hunters, so you'll often see them sitting very still before swooping down to catch their prey. We'll begin with a soft wash of light brown, focusing mostly toward the middle and the bottom of the branch. It's perfectly fine to leave a few untouched white areas around the top. This will create the highlight of the branch for you. Then we'll begin layering a slightly deeper brown in a dappled pattern, placing the darkest tones toward the bottom and allowing the color to soften toward the middle. This helps the branch gain a bit of dimension and perspective, making it feel like it's popping forward from the page. Now that our branch is finished, we're ready to start painting the bird itself, beginning with the lightest color, the bright yellow feathers. We want these yellows to stay bright, so try to avoid layering darker colors over them later. Next, we're going to move to the lime green feathers, which sometimes sit right next to or slightly on top of the yellow areas. Just be careful to leave that yellow nice and bright so that we can later add a deeper yellow layer once this first wash dries. Since this is a small bird and a relatively small area, even during these early washes, I like to flick my brush in small strokes that mimic the direction of feathers. Next, we'll move to the orange belly of the Motmot, continuing with that same gentle flicking motion. And I just realized I missed a small section of the branch here, so I'm going to quickly go back and lay in a bit more brown to finish that portion underneath the bird. The Motmot also has this beautiful orange area toward the top of the wing, so we're going to start with a lighter orange wash and then quickly layer in a deeper orange pigment. This bird is incredibly colorful, so the pigments we're using today will be really nice and vibrant. Next, I'm layering a deeper green pigment, the same green as before but with less water, to deepen the lower part of the wing feathers and add texture. I like to move around the section first along the bottom edge and then slightly under the orange feathers above to create shadow and depth. Then I gently smooth the middle area with a slightly damp brush to create a soft highlight without any hard lines. If you accidentally use too much water, what happened to me here might happen to you, where some pigment lifts off. No worries at all, just dry your brush slightly, reload it with pigment, and gently layer the color back in. And now it's time for the beautiful turquoise color of the Turquoise-Browed Motmot. Finally, we'll start with a light wash of turquoise or blue on the tail feathers. The Motmot's tail feathers are especially unique because the bird actually preens away parts of the feather barbs, leaving these distinct paddle-shaped tips that we mentioned earlier. These long racket tails are one of the easiest ways to recognize a Motmot in the wild. So after the first wash dries slightly, we're going to go back in with the same color but with more pigment and less water to deepen the tone and add texture. Don't forget to add this layering on the little racket tips at the bottom of the feathers as well. There's a bright turquoise area around the eye that looks almost like an eyebrow, along with the touches of turquoise below the eye and around the beak. Usually the brow area is a bit lighter and brighter, while the color below the beak are deeper. So we're going to follow that natural pattern, lighter pigment on the brow and slightly deeper turquoise under the beak and into the neck. Now we'll add a tiny bit of orange right behind the eye with rich pigment. Since this is such a small area, make sure your brush isn't overloaded with water. Keeping this area clean and deliberate will really help bring that bird's face to life. And now we're going to begin layering deeper greens, oranges, and blues to add depth and movement to the feathers. Continuing with the flicking feather-like strokes, allowing some of the earlier layers to remain visible underneath. When you paint along the outer edge of the bird, give a slight outward flick with your brush. This creates the subtle impression of feathers along the edge rather than a hard outline. Anywhere the color feels a little bit flat, you can layer a slightly darker tone on top to create more dimension. Now it's time to add the deepest blue pigment to the bottom of the tail feathers. For this part, I flatten my brush slightly so that the tip helps create stronger feather textures. I flick upward from the bottom, adding some pigment if the color begins to lighten. Then I soften the very top edge of the dark blue by adding just the tiniest bit of water to the brush and blending it upward slightly. Try to keep the outer feather edges crisp rather than rounded. Then add a bit of that deeper pigment along the thin lines of the tail feathers as well. Next, we'll move to the face and add some deeper blue around the eye and the beak area. This eventually becomes almost a blue-black, so it's helpful to first lay down the base of blue first. Then, with just a tiny touch of black on the tip of the brush, we can carefully add the darker accents around the eye and along the beak. You can also begin filling in the round eye here. You can try to leave a small white highlight, but I personally find it easier to add that later using white ink. Add a little water to your brush so that the black becomes more of a gray for the top of the beak. And now this next step can also be done with a fine tip marker, but I prefer using the very tip of my brush to add delicate shadows. I place these shadows along the bottom edges of the color sections between the tail feathers and along the thin lines of the tail. I also flick outward slightly along the belly and back to give the impression of soft feathers. We can't forget the tiny claws holding on to the branch. So using the gray we already mixed, add the little claws and then place a bit of soft shadow underneath the bird on the branch and slightly along the tail feathers. Blend the edges gently so that the shadow fades softly onto the background. If any water pools, simply lift it up with your brush and dab the brush dry. Remember I mentioned white ink earlier? Now is the time to use it. If you have a white ink pen or marker, test it on a separate piece of paper first before using it on your watercolor painting. So first, I add a tiny highlight in the eye, which instantly brings the bird to life. And then I add a few soft flicks of white along the turquoise brow. I find it easiest to rotate my paper so that I can flick the strokes toward myself. And I also add a few tiny highlights on the beak. The branch feels like it could use a little bit more texture, so before we finish, I'm adding a few touches of dark brown here and there to bring out the natural imperfections of the bark. Of course, you could continue adding more and more detail to bring this Motmot fully to life, but I'm going to move on to the nature labeling portion of the journal entry. You can absolutely leave your painting as it is, but I encourage you to add a few nature notes about the Turquoise-Browed Motmot. I like to write the main name using a fine tip Sharpie and then add smaller handwritten notes around the page. You can copy some of the notes that I've included in the printable PDF below, which comes with the outline and some additional information about the Turquoise-Browed Motmot. And there you have it, another nature journal entry in our tropical series. I hope you feel proud of your work and enjoyed painting alongside me today. If you enjoyed this tutorial, you might also like the other tropical species in this watercolor nature journaling series. Next time in our tropical series, we're going to paint a bright yellow eyelash viper coiled along a jungle branch, another beautiful species found here in Costa Rica. Until next time!